think, that's helping people more.
Yes, 100%. And we're going to talk more about that. Some of you maybe already have a coach. We have a couple different ones, and so you might be familiar with what we're talking about. But that is our goal. It's just, oops, hold on, my YouTube's going to start here. Stop. There we go. Is just to really help in any way that we can. We want to know what you guys need. So if there are things that you think we could do better, let us know. Be kind, but let us know in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. And we're going to dig in today. Today we're talking about insulin resistance. So again, this is the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. Welcome. We are excited that you are here. We're going to talk about insulin resistance today. And this comes up a lot. We may not always know what it means. Do we care? Do we need to know what insulin resistance is? And how may that be contributing to our type 2 diagnosis? Now, Dr. Saunders is a wonderful doctor, but he is not your doctor. So it is recommended that you consult with your healthcare provider before you implement any of the things that we talk about today. And I want to dig into this. So, Dr. Saunders, what is insulin resistance?
Okay. Insulin resistance is actually really, really simple. Your body has the ability to change, to adjust to whatever is out there. So when it's freezing cold outside and you're walking outside barefoot, and all you have is your shorts on, your body will constrict all the blood vessels going to your skin on the outside and just leave a little bit of blood flow to conserve all the energy to the inside. And then it will turn on something called brown fat to increase your metabolism and start using up this fat just to make heat for energy. And so it's using up all this energy only for the purpose of heat. No other reason. So, you think you have to like work out and do stuff to generate heat. Well, that's part of it. And sometimes you'll shiver and shake. Your teeth are chattering. Why does that happen? Well, your muscles are also using energy to generate heat. So that's what happens. That's the ability that the body has to adjust to temperature. You can adjust to pressure. You can adjust to the oxygen level or carbon dioxide level in the air. But one of the things that you can adjust to is blood sugar, glucose. If you don't have any blood sugar, you can use fat for energy. You can use protein for energy. You can use other things. If you have a lot of blood sugar, then your body can go, oh, look, I got a lot of blood sugar. This is great. And so the insulin goes up, and insulin is telling all of your cells to bring in more glucose. Take the glucose into your cells. We got a lot of extra out here. So bring it all in. So then the cells are bringing it in, bringing it in. And then when you aren't eating any, or you're fasting, or there's no food around, or whatever, going through a famine or something, then your cells have all this glycogen to use up, and they got all this extra fat to burn. And so you store all that energy for the time when there's no energy. And that's part of the adjustment that it's made. But what happens if you never have a time with no energy? What if you're always bringing in energy and bringing in more and more and more and more and more? And then the cells, they store this glycogen. They store more and more and more and more and more. And the cell is getting like over full, like it's overfilled with all of this glycogen. And it says, whoa, we've got too much here. So each individual cell, as it fills up too much, it sends a signal and it stops making insulin receptors. Well, insulin receptors is what allows sugar, glucose, to get into the cell. And if you don't have any insulin receptors, glucose can't get into the cell. And if it can't get into the cell, where does it go? Well, it stays in the blood. And so the blood sugar starts going up. And that's that blood glucose problem, right? That we call diabetes. Why is the diabetes there? Well, because of insulin resistance. What does that mean? You don't have any insulin receptors on your cells. Your cells are blocked off. And so the insulin, your pancreas is going, hey, look, your glucose is way up. We better bring the glucose down. And so your pancreas makes a lot of insulin to go around and attach those insulin receptors to allow the glucose to get into the cells. But your cells are going, we're not making any insulin receptors. So your glucose is high and your insulin is high. That's how we know you have insulin resistance. So we do 4 tests. We want to know your glucose level. Well, we have to know that it's high, right? We want to know your insulin level, right? We want to know if that's high or if it's low. And then we have 2 long-term tests, relatively long-term tests for those. One is called C-peptide. C-peptide is how much insulin your pancreas is putting out. So even if you are taking injections of insulin, then that insulin level isn't going to be very consistent, but the C-peptide is still going to be helpful because the C-peptide is only found from the insulin you make from your pancreas. It's not going to be in your injections if you're injecting insulin. And then the last one is the hemoglobin A1C, which gives you sort of a 3-month average of what your blood sugar is. So today I had someone in my office and he had low insulin levels. His blood sugar was 286. And that, if you're in Canada, that's equivalent to like an 11 or 12. It's pretty high. And then his insulin at the same time on that same blood draw was only 6. That means his pancreas is not saying, we got too much glucose here. We got to make more insulin. Pancreas is like going, we're not going to make anything. So he has a normal insulin level, but his glucose is really high. That's a problem. So he has insulin resistance. And by the way, his pancreas is not putting out enough insulin. So then that is a different kind of a problem. If we didn't have all of the tests, we wouldn't have known this. So he went on the phase 1 of the program, and he's been doing it for 2 months. And so today he came back, his insulin was 4, and his glucose was 109. He's still a little bit insulin resistant. His pancreas still isn't putting out a lot of insulin, but guess what? His hemoglobin A1C was 4 point, no, what is it? What is it? Uh, Wait a minute. What are the numbers? The number's 5. Okay. So 5.0 to 5.4 is the optimum range. He was 5.4. Was right in the optimum range. And so he's doing great on phase 1. So he said, what should I do? Should I move to phase 2? And I'm like, no, because your pancreas can't handle it. You can't handle extra sugar. You should not be drinking orange juice. You should not be eating fruit. This is like good for you stuff. He says, well, how am I going to get my vitamin C? I said, eat peppers. They have a lot of vitamin C, and cucumbers and carrots and lettuce, and broccoli and cauliflower, and you're going to get all the vitamin C you need. And he's like, oh, okay, I can do that. And so he's just going to stay in phase 1 and be ketogenic for the rest of his life. He said, I know a lot of you think that ketogenic means you have to eat a lot of meat and fat. And he's like, no, I have avocados. I don't really eat a lot of meat. I mean, it comes up. I have chicken, and he didn't like fish that much, but yeah. And so he's insulin resistant, and he's probably going to be that way for the rest of his life because of the function of his pancreas isn't working very well. So he's just going to be in phase 1 forever. And he says, you know what? I'm okay with that. I feel really good. He had a cough, like he had this nagging cough for years. He said 40 years he coughed. And his friends would always say, are you sick? Because he's always coughing. And he said lately his friends have been saying, how come you're not coughing anymore? And he stopped coughing.
Wow, that's so interesting. Oh, and Sean sent a message and said, what's phase 1?
What's phase one? Oh my gosh, Sean, you are in the wrong place. No, you're in the right
No, you're in
place.
the right place. You're in the right place. That's good.
Order the book.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to share my screen really quick because I want to show you guys this because a lot of you are here for the first time, and that's great. So that is a great question, Sean. Let me see. I'm going to go here. I'm going to show you bartonwebinar.com. This is your hub, ladies and gentlemen, where you will find all things Barton related. So we know that guy. You can register for the webinars here. There's information. These are links to our YouTube channel. And so you can subscribe to be notified anytime our episodes are uploaded. And we have frequently asked questions, all of our products. Phase one is found here in this diabetes solution kit. So if you are someone who is looking to reverse type 2, maybe you have a loved one who has type 2, you want to help them through that, or you just want to make sure you don't get type 2, this is a really good option. So this is a program that Dr. Saunders and our team put together. It's not the only way that you could reverse type 2, but honestly, I think it's the easiest. I think it's the most simple. Actually, easiest isn't the right word. It's not always fun, right, to make dietary changes, but it is very simple. So there's 3 phases in this program, 1, 2, and 3. First phase, you reduce your carbs to 20 net grams per day. That's the basic version of it, and there's other things that we like to do too, reduce stress, incorporate exercise. There's a lot of things that we can do to help us along the way, but that's pretty much what you do. Melinda said, that's just like me. I'll have to be on phase 1 for a long time. Fasting once a month works too. So very interesting. You can use code webinar25 and you'll save 25% on that diabetes solution kit. You can get the digital downloadable version right away today and under $20. Or you can get that hard copy for a little bit more. They'll mail that to you. But bartonwebinar.com, that's the best place to find it. Frank and Pat said, thanks for all the educational information and support Dr. Saunders provides. Great team. That's awesome. Okay, I want to dig into some of the questions that have come in. John says, why does my blood glucose jump up during the night while I'm sleeping?
Okay, when you get up in the morning, your cortisol levels from your adrenal glands goes up. And cortisol is something that makes you insulin resistant. Cortisol is the stress hormone. And when you need more glucose around for your brain to function, for your heart to function, and your kidneys to function, because they don't store it. So you need extra around. So whenever you're stressed, then that cortisol makes you insulin resistant so that you don't bring all the glucose into the cells that are unimportant, like your muscle cells, and waste it all and not have enough for your brain and your heart and your kidneys. So every morning you release a whole bunch of cortisol to start your circadian rhythm. And what that does is make you insulin resistant. So even though you haven't eaten anything, it doesn't matter, because your liver has a bunch of stores. The glycogen that's stored in your liver is putting out glucose, and then you become insulin resistant. So then you have this extra level. Now, just so that you know, if it's high, that means you have insulin resistance. And it should be between 70 and 90 on a fasting specimen. So I tested my blood sugar this morning. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you, I'm doing the keto diet. I'm doing phase 1. And I started phase 1 2 weeks ago. And I've been working on it. I've been measuring ketones. This morning I was 1.7. And my blood sugar was 90. 70 to 90, that's where it should be in the morning when you're fasting. If it's higher, that dawn effect means you still have insulin resistance.
That is awesome. And you know what? We don't talk a lot about ketones. Is that something we should be discussing, or what do you think?
I don't, we didn't want to complicate it,
Yeah,
to say it's a ketogenic diet and you should be having this much ketones.
yeah.
The guy that came in today, completely reversed it in 2 months. And he didn't even measure his ketones at all. He just cut out all the carbs and is not eating any grains or cereals or breads or fruit. Well, the sweet fruits. And he's avoiding sweets. He said he does once a month. He goes with a friend to the Cheesecake Factory and gets the sugar-free cheesecake. And I said, I buttoned my lip. I didn't say anything. But we don't recommend it. But you know what? He's doing okay.
Yeah. See how your body handles things. That's probably the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
Anonymous says, can your blood sugar be high and you are not diabetic?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. In fact, I had a case today of Joe's daughter who has her blood sugar. So she went in for surgery and they measured her blood sugar and it was high. And it's not diabetes. Remember what I told you about the cortisol making you insulin resistant? If you're under like a lot of stress, like it's a really high stress situation, like surgery or something like that, you can get a really high blood sugar and not be diabetic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Uh, Frank and Pat said, in phase one, is it okay to eat shellfish?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I'm eating, I had shrimp. I made shrimp tacos without the shells. Essentially shrimp fajitas, right? That's what I ended up making. Ah, it was so good.
Yeah.
You know what? I've done. You guys, when you get the diabetes solution kit, do the recipes. Those recipes are really good. I made the frittata, and everybody loved it. My family loved it. It was great. It was like, gosh, now I'm making food now. I stopped making food for them before, but now I'm making food for everybody again. But it's well, I do make rice on the side for them to put and stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. Parvin says, when is the best time to take nervala?
Um, let's see. Nervala, it is a fat soluble vitamin, benfotiamine and alpha folic acid. So I would say take it with a meal, and it doesn't matter which meal. And the reason to take it with a meal is you want to have enough fat stimulation to get the bile into your intestines so that you can absorb all those fat soluble vitamins easily. So yeah, take it with food.
Kenrick says, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes about 15 years ago. I started using insulin about 8 years ago. Now, my doctor says I am a type 1 diabetic because my body is no longer producing insulin. I've always been compliant and taken the insulin as directed and followed the diet of the dietitian. Could things only go further downhill from here?
Um, Yes, consider a few things, and that is consider the possibility that you're not type 1 diabetic, and man, make sure you get those tests. Get a C-peptide test, because that's going to determine whether that insulin is coming from what you're injecting, and that'll differentiate whether it's pancreatic insulin or injected insulin. And so, in order to make that distinction, you need that C-peptide test. And if they didn't do a C-peptide test, they can't be too sure that you're type 1 diabetic. And sometimes they say, yeah, because you're needing 100 units of insulin a day, that you have to be type 1 diabetic, but that's not true. That's just part of the insulin resistance. So, and then after you test the C-peptide and you find out that you're making maybe a little bit of insulin or none at all, even none at all, then start finding out why. Isn't your pancreas making insulin? And then if it's an autoimmune disease, you can still do phase one of the program. You can do an autoimmune paleo diet and still do phase one of the program. And reverse that too. So I don't know. I don't know specifically, but for the general idea, do all of the tests first before you make that diagnosis of that distinction.
All right. And I did post those tests in the chat. In fact, I'll post those here on YouTube as well. Rose on YouTube says, my fasting blood sugar today was 104. What do you think about that?
That's fine. That's really good. I don't know what it was before, but it's good.
Right. All right. Lots of good questions coming in today, you guys. Thank you. John says, I have to get up 5 to 8 times a night to pee. I also must drink three 15-ounce glasses of water during the night to avoid unquenchable thirst when I wake up. Also, weak and fatigued, tingling in my feet and calves with blurry vision. After cutting carbs a lot, my blood glucose readings have been in the 75 to 91 range for the last 2 weeks. With those symptoms, if it's not diabetes, what's going on?
Ah, okay. It sounds like there's a lot of other things going on, like electrolyte abnormalities, neuropathy. I think that you should have some other tests too. Look at the potassium, magnesium, calcium, sodium, and the relationships between those. Look for specifically sometimes hormones. Some people have a parathyroid hormone imbalance that causes the calcium magnesium to be off. A deficiency of magnesium is fairly common that can cause this kind of thing. When someone is excessively thirsty and water doesn't quench the thirst, then there's a problem with usually sodium imbalance, not getting enough sodium. So you might be deficient in sodium and or potassium. Potassium, the sodium is what keeps your extracellular fluid, your the fluid that's in your blood and around your cells. And and potassium keeps the fluid balance inside the cells. So if your potassium is low inside your cells, then you're going to have all your cells are going to be like raisins. They're all, crenated and wrinkled up. And because they're dehydrated. And then you drink water, drink water, drink water, but they can only become hydrated with potassium. And so if you don't have enough potassium, all your water drinking isn't going to help at all. So sodium, potassium, and cramps too, that's usually one of those things as well.
Okay, Alice, first of all, Alice said was off metformin after 1 month on Cinechroma, close to getting off Ozempic in about a week. I was actually just sending you a message to see, Alice, if I can share that with others because that is amazing and very happy for you. So let me know if I can. Also, Alice says you had talked about metformin causing poop to get stuck in the colon. I think that was probably in an email that went out. I have started Healthy Gut Restore, but there are no measurable numbers for progress. What changes should I be looking for to determine if the supplement is effective?
Um, Healthy Gut Restore is for people who have issues with their colon. And so if you have constipation, diarrhea, gas, bloating, acid reflux, if you're getting these symptoms in your intestines, then you consider using something like Healthy Gut Restore. And what does it restore? Well, it has enzymes in it, so you can digest your food well. It has prebiotics and probiotics to grow the right bacteria in the colon. So, if you start taking Healthy Gut Restore and it fixes the problem, if you're saying, "Gosh, this is great. I don't have diarrhea anymore. I'm not getting constipated anymore," then that's how you know. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter.
Okay, I know I'm getting a bunch of questions in the chat, guys. If you can put those in the Q&A, I'd really appreciate it. I can't get through them all in the chat very easily. Thank you. Okay. Robert says, this is my first call, so I'm not sure if this is the right call to ask this question, but what product is it that cleans out your arteries? I have two arteries in my neck that have blockage. One is 66% blockage, and the other is 80% blockage. The doctors want to do surgery on my neck. My cardiologist said I'm at a high risk to have a heart attack during the surgery. Will your products open those arteries?
Okay. That's a great question. The answer is no. products do not open arteries. But that doesn't mean you can't open them. And so there's a risk and a benefit to whatever you choose. So let's just speak in general terms. People who have blocked carotid arteries, that's these arteries in the neck, you can feel them if you kind of push right here, you can feel the pulse. And that's what's getting all the blood to your brain. And one of them is 66%, and the other one's 80%. That's significant blockage. So the idea of doing surgery is, yeah, let's not wait till they get all blocked off completely. But there is another option. Remember, there's risks to surgery too. The doctors often they downplay the risks, say, "Oh yeah, well, people get strokes during the surgery, and people get heart attacks during the surgery." Well, yeah, and it's significant. There are actually, these are real problems that happen during the surgery frequently. It's not like one in a million. This is like, um, a countable number. It's a lot. So, the other option is to take those blockages out of the arteries, and the way you do that is by getting your omega-3 up really high, avoiding. In fact, if you go on the phase one of the program, is would be a good start, and then do the Healthy Heart Kit. The idea of that is to stop the damage to the lining of the arteries. So you're getting a lot of fiber for that reason, because the lining of the arteries has what's called a glycocalyx that's in the on the inside of the artery, and this glycocalyx protects the artery from getting clots. And if it wears away, if it's damaged, then you start getting clots, and then you start building up more clots and more clots and more clots, and that's what all that junk is that's in your carotid arteries. So go on phase one of the program and do the Healthy Heart Kit. And you can reverse it. And it's been proven that you can reverse these buildup in your arteries.
All right. A question came in here. Oh no, I lost it. Okay, I don't remember. Oh, yes, Jeffrey says, will I always be in stage one?
Ah, well, I don't know. You know what? Some people they get into phase one and they're uh, okay. So we started out today with what is insulin resistance, and some people just have serious insulin resistance to where they kind of always need to be in phase one so that they can avoid getting resistant to insulin. Why? Well, because your cells are keep getting packed with sugar, and then they say, "Whoa," and they stop making insulin receptors, so you don't have any insulin receptors, so you're resistant to insulin. Other people, their system works really well. They just got toxic on sugar and overloaded. And when they use up all the sugar, then everything works really well, and they can eat anything, and they can drink sodas, and it won't be a problem, unless they overdo it again. So some people can fast periodically and not do phase one. There are a lot of different options that you can do, which is one reason we have the webinar, is because you can have a book, but the book may not apply to everyone. Yeah, it's a good general idea, but it may not apply to every single person. So you can individualize it and go, you know what? I'm going to do phase one and get my insulin resistance down. I'm going to start exercising and doing things, and then I'm just going to do a once a week, 1 day fast, or a once a month, 3 day dry fast, which is, I think, as I've researched it, kind of the optimum place to be. And then I don't have to be on phase one. I could eat whatever I want. Well, I mean, I still recommend good food, but besides that, you can eat anything you want. You can have the cheesecake once a month.
Okay, so Lynn says, I was told by my PA that keto is not good for long term as it affects the thyroid. It says, I've been keto for 7 years, but I try to incorporate more vegetables and kept quiet. What is the truth?
Okay, the truth is, the a keto diet where you're getting a meat and vegetables. If you're getting enough vegetables, then you're getting your vitamin C, you're getting your iodine. It's not going to affect your thyroid. People who were eating just high fat all the time, but even then, the thyroid wasn't because of the ketogenic diet. That's not the issue. So as long as you're getting enough iodine, uh, let's see, the amino acids and selenium. That's the other one. So as long as you're getting enough of those, and yeah, it's true, meat doesn't have selenium, so you get selenium from Brazil nuts. So just eat some Brazil nuts, and it won't affect the thyroid.
Right. Okay. Anonymous said, I have never had tingling in my extremities, and my AM blood sugars run around 97 to 108. Is it necessary for me to keep taking Nervala daily? Once my blood sugars are between 70 to 90, which Barton Nutrition supplement should I take daily? Is it necessary to take any Barton Nutrition pills during a 3-day fast? So, a few different questions in there.
Okay. So number one, Nervala. No, it is not essential to take Nervala. Nervala really has a purpose, and it is really for a purpose of reversing a problem, a specific problem. And part of that is circulation, and the other part is neuropathy. So that's what it helps. If you don't have a circulation problem, you don't have neuropathy, then you may not need Nervala. Number two, um, the Cinechroma. Uh, uh, I think Cinechroma is a good supplement for anyone who has ever had diabetes type 2. I just think it's a good thing to take. Why? Because what's in there are common deficiencies for helping use the blood sugar properly. So um, if you have, for example, if you have a chromium deficiency, you could get type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, just because of your chromium deficiency for no other reason. And then you add chromium in, and voila, you don't have diabetes anymore. And so just to maintain that, if you took Synachroma, I've told people, once a day, because the vitamin D in there is formulated for once a day. In fact, they're all formulated for a once daily dose to give the optimum amount. So vitamin D, selenium, chromium, and vanadium. Um, Same from yeah.
And
And
I
there,
can
what was the third question? I'm
Okay,
trying to
hold on
remember.
here. Okay, so is it necessary to take any Barton nutrition pills during a 3-day fast?
Oh, yeah. It's not necessary to take any pills at all. Well, if you're on a medication like thyroid medication, there are certain medications you don't just stop. But yeah, during a 3-day fast, generally you don't take any pills, anything. In fact, nothing goes in your mouth.
All right. It seems like there was something else in here though. Okay, I don't know that we said this specifically, but once blood sugars are between 70 to 90, well, yeah, you said we want to take Synachroma. Oh, that's what I was going to mention. I think everyone on our team takes Synachroma pretty much daily. And I don't think anyone even, there may be some people who are pre-diabetic, a couple, but mostly nobody even has type 2, but they use it because the supplements or the ingredients in Synachroma are so good and they're hard to get. So yeah, we've all been taking that for a long time. We all love Synachroma as well.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
good supplement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see. I've mentioned this before too, but before we formulated that, well, I didn't, but I was taking all of those things individually in separate supplement bottles. So we're so glad that we now have selenium, chromium, vitamin D in one. That makes me happy. Okay. Jeffrey says, I've done everything you were talking about since April of 2024, including zero carb diet, light exercise, and Cinechroma, and still getting, just took it, a reading of 133. I started with an 8.8 A1C and down to 6.2, which is good. Let's talk about that. That is good. What would you recommend for him?
Okay, so you were diabetic. You are no longer diabetic. You are pre-diabetic. I think that's wonderful. I think that's like you've done really well just since April, May, June, July. So maybe 3 months, 2 to 3 months. Um, that is pretty good progress. You have to consider that it may have taken 10 to 20 years for you to build up to this level of insulin resistance. And yet in a couple of months, you could be back, no longer diabetic, just having prediabetes. And that's a good start. So I think you're doing it right, and I think you consider the same things, except for maybe doing those tests that we talked about, insulin, C-peptide, and blood glucose and hemoglobin A1C. And then they will tell you where you are as far as how much insulin you're making compared to how much blood sugar you have to see how much insulin resistance you have.
Rose on YouTube, I'm asking, I was starting to type. So Rose had told us that her fasting blood sugar today was 104, and it used to be 170 to 153. She said her body is getting used to the low numbers. And Rose, I'm just curious, what did you do? What things did you incorporate? Did you do the diabetes solution kit? Or, tell us about your journey there. I'd love to hear from you. Okay. More questions. Here we go. Anonymous says, is it sunlight that brings your blood sugar down when you get up? How long after waking up should it take to normalize the blood sugar reading? Does it really make sense to check blood sugar as soon as you get up?
Okay. Yes, it makes sense to check the blood sugar as soon as you get up. No, it's not the sunshine that does it. It actually happens before the sun even gets up. You start making extra cortisol. So the cortisol makes you insulin resistant. That's what happens. Okay, so as far as checking in the morning, yes, the reason you're checking in the morning is if you're insulin resistant, your blood sugar is going to go up in the morning. If you're not insulin resistant, it won't. That's why I mentioned this morning, I don't have insulin resistance. My blood sugar this morning was 90 after I woke up. So you don't get the dawn effect when you don't have insulin resistance. That's why we check in the morning.
All right. Susan says, my A1C is at a 7.5. How do I bring it down? I'm not sure if this is the right place to ask.
This is the right place to ask. This is what we do. Okay, so the way to bring it down is to do phase one. Just stay in phase one until you're down at 5.4.
So that's the diabetes solution kit. You can purchase that at bartonwebinar.com. Again, you can get it for under 20 bucks. Real cheap, a lot cheaper than going to Dr. Saunders in his office. I can tell you that. And again, bartonwebinar.com. Use code webinar25. You'll save 25%. Okay, here we go. More questions. Oh, I love this from
There
Frank.
was one. There
Oh, go
was
ahead.
one question on there. Is Cinechroma, does it get too old if the expiration date, if it's out of date? No. The answer is no. The minerals will last forever. The vitamin D isn't going to degrade, and neither will the cinnamon. The purpose for an expiration date is for sales. It's a shelf life, and it has nothing to do with how long it's available. In fact, the Army did a bunch of research on supplements and nutrients and drugs, all kinds of things, and they found 5 years past the expiration date, they were all still good, except for nitroglycerin.
Interesting that it's the Army that did that study.
Yeah, it is.
Of course. Okay.
They wanted to know how long they could store it. Do you know, and vitamins are a big thing for the Army. You know, during World War II, the United States set up vitamin factories and produced millions of vitamins for Russia, and that they sent to Russia so that the Russians could fight the Germans. I mean, and they were like popping vitamin pills. That was like an important part of their rations.
Wow. Interesting. This is totally off topic, but I just finished the book, The Women. Oh my goodness, you guys, have any of you read that? Oh, very good. Anyway, I finished it right before this webinar because I listened to it when I clicked like eating or something. And so it was very interesting just to see the different things that were happening during times of war and just reminded me of that. So, okay, here we go. Kimberly says, second day of 20 milligram carbs only got 356 calories. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, you'll get enough calories. Some days you'll get a couple thousand calories. Some days you'll get 1,000 or less. It's okay. Yeah, the calories. That's why we didn't say count the calories. It's not really that important. And actually, fewer calories is better, in a way, as long as you're feeling satisfied. That's good. Remember, you're toxic on calories. That was what we were saying about the cells are overloaded with energy, and that's too many calories.
Okay, Joseph says day 3 of first day fast. Blood sugar 86 from 194 on day 1. Drank
Wow.
coffee with heavy cream and water. Where to from here? Continue to fast or back to phase 1? First of all, let's talk about this. Okay, first, wow, that's a big jump. Second, I mean, I probably won't want to hear this, but what are your thoughts about having heavy cream on a fast?
Well, it's not fasting. Heavy cream is calories and so they black coffee has been shown to not really mess up someone who's fasting, but the cream certainly will. But it's okay. I mean, you're gonna
Yeah,
burn fat for calories, right?
they're still
So
low
that's not a
carb.
bad thing. Right, right. Stay off the carbs. That's good. So I would say the answer to that is going back to phase 1 and having meat and vegetable diet.
But isn't that amazing? Day 3 of the first day fast. Day 3 of first day fast. Blood sugar 86 from 194. That's amazing. I mean, fasting really does some amazing things.
Yeah.
Right. Meg says, I have an MRI tomorrow. Is there anything I can do to protect my kidneys from the gadolinium, which is showing it can damage our body and kidneys? Over the past 31 years, I've had over 1 dozen MRIs with gadolinium, and just now they are cataloging it can damage my kidneys.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. How do you clean out the kidneys? Well, getting enough fluids, that's part of it. Allowing the gadolinium to get out of your body. How do you get the gadolinium out of your body? There is one thing that can be very useful, and that is chlorella. Is a blue-green algae that is actually really good at taking uh, toxins out of the body. It's an algae, yeah, algae, and then fungus. So if you eat mushrooms, you can get mushroom powders. There's all these kinds of gosh, I found them really expensive. The powdered mushrooms, for example, of various kinds, turkey tail and all those. But you can actually just eat mushrooms, and the mushrooms are really good at detox. In fact, it's been thought, I was reading a book on trees, the amazing life of trees, or something like that. How trees talk to each other and everything. And it turns out the mushrooms are the detox mechanisms for like the forest and the trees. These mushrooms, they grab onto and they hold on to heavy metals so that they don't poison other plants and the trees and stuff like that, like lead and mercury and that kind of thing. And so mushrooms are actually a good detox, and then chlorella or blue-green algae.
Very interesting. And then we eat the mushrooms. Isn't that weird?
I know, think about that. Hmm.
Yikes. Okay. Maybe not those. Well, yeah, I don't know. Okay. Robin says, I'm basically flexing between 105 to 120, mostly 115 every day with the morning fasting. What would be the long time consequences if I cannot get under 100? My dietitian said I should be under 120 when fasting and under 180 with a 2 hour food intake. She said that is a good range. My two meds are levothyroxine for thyroid and lavastatin for cholesterol. I have ongoing heartburn, take Pepsid Complete when heartburn occurs, and have a small hiatal hernia. I read that being on a statin is not good if you have pre-diabetes or diabetes.
Yeah, I don't generally recommend a statin unless someone has familial hypercholesterolemia. And so I would look at the levels first. And if your cholesterol is under 250, then I don't see any reason to use a statin. And then the question was really about what's the right number here? Where should you be in the morning? And if your nutritionist is saying, well, you're okay, or your diabetes coach or whatever is saying, well, you're okay to be under 120 in the morning fasting and then under 180. Yeah, those are okay. Yeah, but the purpose that we're looking at here is not blood glucose. Yes, we measure the glucose. Why? Because that tells us if you have insulin resistance. What we really care about, what's important, is insulin resistance because that's where all the damage is done. If you're insulin resistant, you don't use fat for energy. You don't use you don't have enough energy, and your kidneys get affected from that, and your brain gets affected from that, your nerves, your heart, all of these issues that are the problem are not because you have too much sugar. The problem is that you have too much insulin. And so, yes, we measure the blood glucose, but don't look at that as the issue. Look at the insulin as the issue. So, in the morning, if you wake up in the morning and your blood glucose is between 70 and 90, then you don't have insulin resistance. If it is higher, then you either have not enough insulin or you have insulin resistance. So that's why we go that way.
Okay. Kimberly says, what effect does stage 1 diet have on kidney function? I am stage 3B.
Okay, so the phase 1 diet, this is so good. You guys, it is very important that you make ketones and burn fat for energy for your kidneys to function well. And it's a problem in that a lot of people in phase 1 will use a very high protein diet. Now, you've been told that you should not have a high protein diet because it damages the kidneys. No, it does not damage the kidneys. There's no evidence for that at all. A high protein diet should not be used in people who have kidney failure because they can't get rid of all the urea, all the nitrogenous wastes that happen because of excessive protein intake. So that's what your kidneys are doing. They're getting rid of urea, ammonia, and these things build up. Creatinine, these things build up in your blood because your kidney can't get rid of them. So if you're eating a whole bunch of protein, then it's going to get worse and worse. So that's what they're saying about you should not eat protein if you have renal failure. But the protein doesn't cause renal failure. That's not the issue at all. So You need enough protein. The ketogenic diet is often a very high protein diet, but it doesn't have to be, and it shouldn't be. I've been doing it for 2 weeks. My ketone levels are great. This morning it was 1.7. I have hard, well, I've been eating meat almost every day, but really not a lot. What do I have? Well, this morning I had avocado, egg, cheese. I guess that's protein, huh? Eggs and cheese, avocado, tomato, onion, um, and and some salsa on it. Uh, and let's see, I had taco meat one night. So yeah, I do have meat on a regular basis, but not a lot. I really have a lot of green vegetables. Yesterday I had a salad, and I didn't have any meat on it at all. I did have avocado again. I like avocado.
Yeah, I do too.
Anyway, so you don't have to have a high protein diet to be on a ketogenic diet. So you can do phase one of the program and have a moderate protein diet and not worry about your kidneys. But burning the fat actually helps your kidneys. That helps them repair. So just like your brain needs the ketones, your kidneys do too.
Right. John says, does turmeric and berberine help with blood glucose control?
Turmeric and berberine, they might. Berberine helps you tells your body to burn fat instead of glucose, and so it can help with blood sugar. But that's not what they're for, and that's not your glucose control happens from your diet. That's it. That's what you're doing. It's your diet. If your glucose is out of control, then your diet is out of control. So always look at it that way. Oh, my sugar's high. What did I eat? Not what pill should I take? It's what did I eat?
All right, we're running out of time here. Let's see. Jeffrey says I'm getting 100, 102, 104 recently, but it will jump to 145 at times, and I don't consume any carbs. Any thoughts?
Okay, yes. Stress will make it go up. If your cortisol levels go up, then your blood sugar will go up. There would be other reasons for that, but those are still indicators that you do have insulin resistance. The fact that it jumps up, you go, oh, that's interesting. I still have insulin resistance because it should not go up that high.
Nancy says, does taking magnesium help with diabetes?
Magnesium can be very helpful. There's over 300 different enzymes that help you make energy that require magnesium to function. And so a lack of magnesium messes up your energy system badly. And it can, of course, affect how you use glucose and diabetes.
Connie says, my pancreas doesn't work properly. I also have chronic back and leg pain. Is it possible to reverse my diabetes when my sugar goes up when I'm in pain?
Yes, but that's not something to worry about. It's one of the issues that they had in hospitals. They've done some studies in the hospital where they try to get everybody in the hospital to have normal blood sugar all the time. So they're giving them insulin like crazy so that their blood sugar is always between 70 and 90, or they're not getting that tight, but they're keeping it down below 120. So they wanted everybody in the hospital to have normal blood sugar all the time. And what ended up happening is that a lot of people were dying. They had a really high death rate from that study. So when you're in pain, when you have a lot of stress or something, your blood sugar is going to go up, and that's okay. It's just going to go up.
Beverly said, I added healthy heart support to my routine 1 week ago, previously phase two, supported by Cinachroma and turmeric BP for pre-diabetes. Suddenly, my blood pressure is in the normal range consistently and repeatedly after 35 years. What do you think happened? All she did was add the healthy heart support.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the beetroot allows you to make nitric oxide like you're supposed to, and you didn't have enough before. I don't know.
Still pretty cool. Beverly, are you okay with me sharing that? I'd love to share that with the team.
Yeah.
That is cool. And maybe honestly, what is the effect of getting your blood sugar normalized on your blood pressure?
Yeah. Yeah, the if the blood sugar is normal, if the blood sugar is normal because your all of your cells have enough, then yeah, your blood pressure will go down because blood insulin resistance causes high blood pressure too. So, yes.
Okay. Oh, so many good things here. No, we're out of time. Okay, I'm going to read this and then we'll be done. Frank and Pat said, update. It's day 49 of phase one, female, petite, 91 pounds at start of phase one in May 23rd, 49 days ago. Height 4'10, post stroke 14 months ago, was diabetic. And quite a bit of muscle loss, especially after the stroke. Would like her ideal weight should be around 100 pounds. Initially fasting blood glucose of 9 plus. So we were stuck in the 5 plus for the last 25 days. Saw a dip to 4.7 on day 31, but steady in the fives. Went over all the docs and reviewed the archived webinars, adjusted down the protein intake and keeping the carbs at 10 to 15 grams. Today, fasting glucose came back down to 4.9. Current weight is around 85 pounds. Lost some belly fat. Thank you. Off all blood pressure and glucose medication, including daily aspirin. Question. I calculated her protein at 40 to 60 grams daily initially. Now have adjusted to 30 to 35 grams protein daily. Is this protein level too low for phase one for her current weight at 85 pounds? As it seems to be the only way to get down to the fours. Carbs are around 10 to 15. Thank you. Grateful.
Wow, carbs around 10 to 15 and protein only 30 grams. 30 grams is kind of a minimum. Yeah, so that's okay. And wow, that's pretty amazing that what you've done so far is really
Yes.
amazing. By the way, for those of you who don't understand those numbers, the 4 to 5 is the optimum. So in the fives is a little bit on the high side, but getting into the between 4 and 5 is an optimum. That's the equivalent of being that 70 to 90 range, where in that we use in the United States. So very good, well done. And yes, the answer to your question is yes. 30-gram carbs is sort of like a minimum amount. But if that's what it takes to get normal, that's good.
And keep us posted too. Let us know how you're doing
Yeah.
or how she's doing. Okay, Dr. Saunders, thank you so much. You go be
Yeah.
blessed to your customers or your customers, your patients, and then see you tomorrow.
Okay. Hasta mañana.
Bye-bye. Come back tomorrow, everyone, for the Healthy Heart webinar. We will be here at 12 noon Central Time. And you can register for that at bartonwebinar.com. It's another really good webinar where we talk about the heart, same type of format. And we'd love to have you there. Invite a friend. And I'm sorry we didn't get through all the questions, but we will get to as many as we can next week. Come early, post those in the Q&A, and we'll do our best. So thank you.